My name's Justin Shimko. I am the communications coordinator with the campaign, and I will say I'm currently living in St. Charles, Illinois. So
Okay.
I'm from everywhere. I'm a Navy brat, so I
Oh,
don't really have an
I
originally
understand.
from.
I understand. So this campaign is becoming a very important one, a contentious one, I'd say, for a district like this swing district. Can you lay out what Beth Coulson's priorities are in this race?
The three priorities are pretty simple. It's returning the economy back to the growth that it once was, improving our health care in a way that doesn't damage the current healthcare structure, especially with so many people that currently enjoy the healthcare program, but provide it through incremental changes instead, and ensure that we're protecting Americans both at home and abroad through a properly funded and supported military structure. So that's the basic rundown.
All right. And what are Beth's positions on taxes and spending?
Well, the biggest problem that we're having right now is that there are too many threats of increasing taxes, and there's just too much spending going on. We have two sets of tax laws that are about to expire. The 2001 and 2003 tax cuts are scheduled to expire within the next 1 to 3 years, depending on which tax you're talking about. They need to be made permanent. There are too many businesses, especially, that are hesitant to do anything about expansion because those kinds of taxes are going to affect their production. And the same thing with individuals. They have their current, in some cases, lessened salaries because of the economy, and now they're about to face a higher tax increase just because the tax laws aren't being touched to make permanent. The spending, yesterday they raised the debt level 1.9 trillion, and that's the largest increase on the debt ceiling ever. It took 200 years to get the first 1.9 trillion debt, and it took 24 hours basically to increase it again.
I see.
So we need to rein in the spending. We got to stop adding new programs.
One of the areas of spending that the Republicans in Congress have found and conservatives have found is cutting funding to groups like ACORN. Does the candidate support cutting funding to ACORN or other radical anti-taxpayer groups like?
Government shouldn't be funding partisan organizations.
Mm-hmm.
That's a given. The funding has been, and it's not just the ACOR funding, but it's just funding in general towards organizations that tend to be less than balanced. And there needs to be a way to provide services that only the government can provide without going to an outside source. And there needs to be government going to outside sources, but there also needs to be regulation to ensure that there's no imbalance in things like census and voter registration and other types of operations that groups like ACORN have been known to do.
So Beth Coulson in Congress would eliminate funding to groups like ACORN?
Should be completely discourage it, yeah.
I see. And what about what is Beth's position on right to work laws or other union related issues here? Obviously, the economy isn't growing, and unions have played a large role in hurting both the economy and the so-called Rust Belt and specifically in North Chicago end.
Yeah, well, especially with the the right to work. Right to work, of course, is a state issue, and it's in the federal campaign. The discussion's more been in the card check policies, which is completely. It not only is it eliminating free elections, but it's also a very cost prohibitive function if you enact card check, because now instead of having a free and fair election to form a union, you would have an organization come in, have everybody sign these cards, and then the management has to make sure that each card is valid, and that the person actually signed it on their own will and not so being forced. So it becomes a very prolongated and expensive production just to form a union, as opposed to just having the free and fair election, where people would say, no, I don't want to become a part of a union, and that's fine. So with that regards, in enabling unions to have a step up is not exactly the best direction to go at this time.
I see. And finally, what is Beth's position, and will Beth vote, one, for Speaker Boehner, and two, what's Beth's relationship with the Republican Party? She's always been a supporter of previous President Bush, and are there Republican policies that she disagrees with or that she would like to stand out from?
I haven't talked to her about whether she would vote for for Boehner as the speaker, but my the previous experience with her, or the previous records, I should say, with her in the Illinois legislature shows that she would vote for the Republican to be the speaker. She's voted for Representative Cross to be speaker. Obviously, it's not the case because it's a Democrat majority, but she has a broad support of Republicans, and she continues to support the Republican Party.